the main trio so much. Annabeth, Grover, and Percy are my favorite characters. I love Nico D'Angelo. That's all I have to say. I love Nico. I understand y'all's like adult fantasy fame because yes, like, yeah. In their banter, snaps for Lila Sage. Hey guys, it's Ems and welcome back to my reading room. Today we are doing my November reading wrap up. It is a bit late in December, but that is because I am starting Bookmas. I am doing the 13th through the 24th of 12 days of Bookmas. As you can tell, I am Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer right now with my antlers. Like, I am Rudolph. I'm giving Rudolph. That is because I am doing school dress-up holidays, and that is not because of Bookmas. For the school, we're doing, like, a bunch of holiday stuff, and today was Santa's crew, so I'm Rudolph. All in all, I will be doing Bookmas this year, so I'm super excited. Last year, I did not have my channel yet. I started this channel in January of 2024, so Bookmas is a new concept for me. I am not sure if I will get every day. I don't know how overwhelmed and stressed I'll get, but I am hoping to do the 13th through the 24th. Let's get into this November wrap up. I did take my antlers off, so ignore that. First book I read in November, which was The Striker by Anna Huang. I gave this a 4.5, and I really liked Asher as a main character. I thought his football presence was super fun, and he was just like striking. He had this kind of tension and banter with Scarlett that I really enjoyed. I also really liked Scarlett as an FMC. I think she had really good confidence around Asher. She had this kind of like tension and banter with him that she didn't have for like her personal self, and Scarlett was definitely like my favorite type of female character to read. I'm now going to give y'all a summary of The Striker. The Striker is about Asher Donovan, who is this very pro football player, EU football, and he has this rivalry with somebody. His rivalry is with Vincent Dubois. Then you meet Scarlett Dubois. She is now a retired ballet dancer who still works at a studio. She is sent in to help Asher and Vincent do this like summer workout training, and as you can tell, Enemy's sister is training them, and I don't know, there's a lot of tension in this book just knowing that he is kind of crushing on his rival sister. Like, I am personally trying to support my local libraries a lot this year. I have been just wanting to go to libraries and checking out books and making sure that they are getting the checkouts they need. So a lot of the books in my next wrap-ups and just kind of videos in general, I will be like showing them on the screen if I don't have them on me. The next book I read is The Hammer of Thor. This is the second Magnus Chase book by Rick Riordan, and I gave this a 3 stars. Personally, I did not love the Magnus Chase series as a whole. We'll get to the last one later in this wrap up. For the second one, it just was not my favorite. I really liked the characters. The plot of the Asgard gods did not really appeal to me as much as the Greek gods did, so I did not get the full effect and like feel so involved in these kind of godly stories or like in these magical stories as I wanted to, but it's okay. I would recommend to read this series, a part of the Rick Riordan and Percy Jackson world. There is so much fun in these kind of stories, and even if you're not loving it, I do think it is a fun read. After the first book in the Magnus Chase series, The Gods of Asgard, Magnus Chase now has a new mission to go on. You see a lot of familiar faces in this one. You see a lot more reoccurring characters, and in this one you are learning a lot more about the Asgards and all of these kind of interconnecting worlds in this story. I was still on my Rick Riordan grind after this because there was a part in Magnus Chase, the second book, that made me immediately want to read The Chalice of Gods. So I picked up The Chalice of Gods, which is the first book in the Senior Adventures trilogy by Rick Riordan. This is a new Percy book. I was obsessed with the main trio being back together. I love the main trio so much. Annabeth, Grover, and Percy are my favorite characters. Like, I have other favorite characters, but I just love them in general. With this being the senior year adventures, I am a senior this year, and being able to read about Percy's senior year adventures is just so much fun, and I feel like that's kind of what adds to the nostalgia of it. There was a specific part where they kind of go back and check something out that just kind of gave me my own nostalgia. My senior year adventures is not really as cool as Percy's because he's dealing with Greek gods, but I'm still like having the fun of senior year. The first time since Heroes of Olympus, Percy goes through Percy Jackson and the Olympians, Heroes of Olympus, and a little bit more until he gets to the senior year adventures. Then he finds out that to go to college, where he is trying to get to, he has to get 3 letters of recommendations, but from gods. The gods have to give him recommendations for him to get into New Rome College, which is where Annabeth is going. So he really wants to get into this college. With the help of Annabeth and Grover, they have to figure out how to get Percy on this recommendation list and making sure that these gods are trying to ask for his help. Will Percy be able to go to college? Will he get these recommendation letters? Like, we don't know. The 3rd one's not out yet, so I actually don't know. Next book I actually read in a YouTube video, how many pages I read in a busy week. It was Quicksilver by Callie Hart. I really liked this book. I gave it a 4.75, which is like so good for an adult fantasy book because I do not love adult fantasy, but if you have been keeping track of my reading this year, I have read so much fantasy. So like maybe I'm an adult fantasy girly now. We'll see. With Quicksilver, I was on the edge of my seat and very captivated by the characters for most of the time. I feel like there was a lot of depth to the story that you don't really get in young adult fantasies, which makes me want to read adult fantasies more due to this like more yearning and longing in these books. Like I felt like I had so much fun kind of figuring out the more detailed events that go on. And it gets so twisty and turny that you just have to keep going. Disclaimer, I understand y'all's like adult fantasy fame because yes, like, yes. In Quicksilver, you have Cerise, and she's in this like kind of deadbeat town, which is like considered like the lowest low of this world or like area that they're in. There is like a high queen, I think it's considered, I'm not totally sure, but there's like this queen that also like takes care of all of these like areas, and they just do not like the area Cerise is from. In this area, Cerise is very good at like lying and having to keep secrets to live. She actually has this like big secret to live. Cerise ends up coming face to face with death, and she has to learn kind of about the other world that she has no clue about because she is from this town that doesn't really talk about this kind of stuff. She is learning all these new technicalities of stuff that she just does not understand. Yeah, I don't know how to summarize this. Next book I read was actually the 2nd book in the senior year trilogy. I read this in the How Many Pages in a Busy Week as well. This is the Wrath of the Triple Goddess. If you want my more in-depth opinions on these books, I would check that video out because I was giving like more like immediate reactions, which I feel like is always kind of a better insight to what I feel about the book. With Wrath of the Triple Goddess, I gave it a 4.5. In this one, Percy really stepped up to the plate, and the way that Rick wrote these characterizations and how he developed this story, I really liked it. The plot was written so well, and I feel like the goddess in this one, I really liked her character arc. And in this story, even though we have like 10, 11, 12, however many Percy books, we were still learning new stuff about Percy and his family and Annabeth and Grover in this one. I felt like this one had more of a growing message to where the other one had more of like a nostalgic message, which in this one I really liked the growing plot. In this book, this is Percy trying to get his 2nd letter. He has to babysit a goddess's pets, and what could go wrong? He's just babysitting some pets. Grover, Annabeth, and Percy are all in this mission, and let's see, does Percy get his 2nd letter? I don't know, does he? The next book I read was Lost and Lassoed by Lila Sage. This is also in that video. I really liked this one. I gave it a 4.5. Teddy was such a good main character. Her as a side character, she was very like, not underdeveloped, but you kind of didn't understand her as a character. You knew she was grumpy, but you also knew she was confident. There was like this aura around her that these kind of side characters get. So when you get into their point of view and you get to see the backstory behind them and just kind of more to their life. With Gus, he was such a good male main character. Like the trials and kind of tribulation he goes through is just so perfect for him. And I feel like in the other ones you can kind of tell that there is more to Gus, but you don't really get to see that until you get his backstory and how he is dealing with things. I really liked Riley. I think she was a great addition to this. Single dads in books, sometimes the kid could ruin it, but Riley was really good. She was written as the age she was written, which I always really like. In the 3rd Rebel Blue Ranch book, Lost and Lassoed, Teddy is the chaos master, this kind of overbearing confidence, where Gus is kind of the calm. He needs the calm. He's not going to be like running around with all these just confident things. When the calm meets the storm and these enemies have to be around each other a lot more than they normally are, will the tension burn? Because all I can say is flames, just fire, because their tension and their banter snaps for Lila Sage. The next book is another Rick Riordan book. It is The Ship of the Dead. This is the third Magnus Chase book. I gave this one a 3.75. I liked it more than the other two. In The Ship of the Dead, I just could not get behind the plot of really any Magnus Chase book. I really personally enjoyed the found family aspect. There were so many different characters that got brought in from the other books into this one that had to go on a mission together, and I really enjoyed that. Alex, he is so cute, and she really kept the story going and had this character development that you really get to see throughout all the books. She is just such a good MMC, like, so good. I really liked the message he brought, and perfect. Magnus in this one actually like grew on me. I didn't love him throughout the other books, but the way he like kind of was just a little nerdy and awkward throughout this one, I loved. And the romance was so cute. Like, that's what kept me going, was the romance, because I just loved everything about that. The Ship of the Dead, Magnus's story is finally coming to a close. With more found family, familiar faces, and a bit of romance as well, will Magnus be able to stop the ever-growing Loki in The Ship of the Dead? Next book I read was The Demigod Files by Rick Riordan. This is kind of just like Percy Jackson telling little short stories, but also like interviews and like puzzles and stuff. So I don't really know how to rate this. I rated it a 4 because I really liked the short stories, but I can't really give a summary because it's just like a bunch of different stories. So that's the best I can give you. Like, this is like, if you're really deep into the Rick Riordan world, I would read The Demigod Files because I thought it was super cute. And the interviews, adorable. The next 3 books are actually in my Block Blast Chooses My Reads video. I'm going to tell y'all about Unbearable by Anna Jer. This was a 3.5. I really like Anna Jer. I am mutuals with her on TikTok. I talk about this, but I love her content. So I just needed to read her book. And luckily, Block Blast chose it. This was a wild ride. Dottie was such a relatable female main character, but she got on my everlasting nerves because there was some stuff she was doing that made me mad to no end. But it didn't deter me at all. I really liked her with other aspects of her character development. There were just some specific times where me and her, we weren't on the same page. I was like, girl, what is going on? Trent, on the other hand, I was on his side the entire time. I loved Trent as a male main character. I think his inner dialogue was so perfect, and he just really cared and showed that he cared, and he just had so much character, and I really liked him. As well as some of my other favorite small towns, this one had such good small town aspects. I really loved just the found family of it all and how there's always a bit of found family, but in this one there was a mystery. I don't really tend to read small town mysteries, so having a bit of a mystery subplot that's just kind of following you along was very fun, and it caught me off guard. When we found out who it was, I was like, what? I was personally paying attention to like 2 other characters, so when we found out who it was, it actually like caught me off guard. In Unbearable, Dottie James fled her small town life and moved to Seattle 10 years ago. Now she has to go back to Woodstone Falls because her grandpa's funeral is happening and she is going there to grieve. Her grandfather actually leaves her something in his will, which makes her stay a little longer in Woodstone. Trent is there, and so, seeing Trent is not what she needs or what she wants at this point. They were childhood friends. Stuff happens. The next book I read was The Sun and the Star by Rick Riordan. I love Nico D'Angelo. That's all I have to say. I love Nico. And I feel like he has so many emotions that they just don't let him have in any of these books. And everything gets taken from him. And I love him. And I don't care. I don't care. I really liked Will. He was really heartwarming. I loved him in the Trials of Apollo, so like getting him in this book as a side kind of main character, everything to me. The main idea of the story was so good, and kind of seeing their relationship and friendship and everything flourish as it should. Like, they were so good. They made me cry. Like, I cry in that video multiple times. Like, Nico's got me crying at all points in time. Really, all I have to say, like, speechless. Like, those are all the words I have. Like, That's all I can tell you. And if you want to see me cry, like, go watch the blog blast video, I guess. It's now Nico's turn for his story, but obviously as the son of Hades, he has to go to the depths of the darkest areas. How else would he learn to accept himself and his friends? There is a lot of stuff going on in Nico's life, and it has been for a really long time. So seeing him kind of combat that in this one is really what you're going into the story for Nico. Last two books of November that I read were Lightlark and Nightbane. Lightlark, I have my reactions in that video, but Nightbane I read right after, so I'm going to talk to you about them both right now. They are a part of the same series. I don't know what the series is called. I'm just going to call it Lightlark, but they are both a part of Lightlark. Lightlark I gave a 5, and Nightbane I gave a 4.75. Lightlark just gave me these fun emotions that I've never really got from a book. I was just so invested in the characters and the story, and I really liked Isla as a main character, and I love a good love triangle. I'm sorry. I love love triangles. I don't care. I love being able to choose a team. And what I did was I chose a team because I'm going to say it. I'm Team Grimm. Don't hurt me, anyone. I'm Team Grimm. I solidified that I was Team Grimm in Nightbane because, oh my gosh, the only thing I loved about this book was the past and the ending. Yep, Nightbane. That's why it was a 4.7. Because I really liked the plot and the extra stuff, but I didn't love some of it, so it was not a 5. But I really liked Lightlark as a 5-star read. If you don't know what Lightlark is about this island. The island of Lightlark comes back every 100 years, and there are 6 people that are cursed that have to break their curses, but the tension rises because one person has to die, and their entire kingdom will fall if they die. So these centennials are very tense, but Isla is going to her first centennial in Lightlark, and you just have to see. There is twists and turns, and the ending is actually crazy, insane kind of crazy. I do think the consensus is a 4-star for Lightlark because I could see a 4-star for Lightlark, but I just had so much fun reading it. I don't give books 5 stars because they're literal masterpiece. I don't care. I just had fun reading it, so it was a 5 stars. It's not going to change my life. I just really liked the book. I probably don't even remember. I'm not going to remember what happened in that book in a month, but I really liked it, so. As Rudolph, I want to thank y'all for coming to the first day of Bookmas. I cannot wait to try and get more videos out for y'all. I really hope y'all liked this. I know it's a November wrap-up, pretty late into November, but I just wanted to let y'all know my thoughts and opinions on all the books I read and show y'all the videos that I read those books in. I am super excited to get more into Bookmas. Don't forget you can check my Goodreads and my Fable for other book-related review content. I have a Bookstagram and a book talk where all my other bookish things are. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all tomorrow for the next day of Bookmas. Bye! See you later!